you so much.
All right. Hello. So this is Point-Counterpoint. Are Dementia VSED advanced directives ethical, and should clinicians honor them? I'm going to answer that yes. Dementia VSED advanced directives are ethical, and clinicians should honor them. I'm Thaddeus Pope. I have just one disclosure to make. I do get royalties from Oxford University Press for this book on VSED. For 50 years, since 1976, we have encouraged people to complete advanced directives. In fact, we provide incentives to both individuals and to clinicians to engage in advanced care planning. We allow patients to hasten the death of their future selves. We permit patients to avoid living with conditions that they find to be intolerable. We allow people in their advanced directives to instruct about what treatment they want, as well as what treatment they do not want. We permit patients to direct in their advanced directives the withholding or the withdrawing of treatments like dialysis, antibiotics, mechanical ventilation, CPR, defibrillation, and blood products. We even allow people to direct withholding and withdrawing of artificial nutrition and hydration. In other words, we allow patients to direct their death from dehydration. And we have landmark cases on that, like Nancy Cruzan and Terry Schiavo. Today, we're not going to talk about artificial nutrition and hydration. Instead, we're going to talk about oral nutrition and hydration, sometimes called hand feeding or spoon feeding. And it's really the same ethical analysis, because the only thing that changes is the route that the nutrition and hydration takes to get into the patient's body. So here's my roadmap in 4 parts. First, what is a Dementia VSED advanced directive? Demand for them is big and growing. It's increasingly supported by healthcare policies and supported by advanced directive laws. All right, what is a Dementia VSED advanced directive? Well, let's fast forward. Let's look up into the future. Let's imagine that it's 2032. Your patient is in a bed in her house. She cannot speak. She cannot move purposefully. She cannot recognize her caregivers, and she cannot even recognize her own family. And she's in diapers. She's hand fed 3 times every day, very patiently. It takes like an hour each time. Your patient never wanted to live like this. But, of course, now she lacks capacity. She cannot now authorize VSED. So what? What can she do? Well, today, April 30th, 2026, today she can complete an advanced directive and ideally back that up with a video advanced directive saying, basically, do not feed me by mouth when I reach advanced dementia. So therefore, when she reaches advanced dementia in 2032, she won't be hand-fed and spoon-fed and won't continue to live into and with late stage dementia. So when exactly does hand or spoon feeding stop for somebody? Well, it depends on how they write their own advance directive. So it's at the point that each patient specifies. So some patients in the context of dementia will put in clinical triggers in their advance directive. So they might say, don't feed me when I get to advanced dementia, or don't feed me when I get to stage 7 Alzheimer's on the FAST scale. Other patients might put in functional triggers instead of clinical triggers. So they might say, don't feed me when I don't recognize myself. Don't feed me when I don't recognize my family. Or don't feed me when I can't go to the bathroom. And there are advanced care planning tools to help people reflect upon what other conditions they might want to avoid. If you're dependent upon hand feeding and you don't get it, you will, of course, die from dehydration. So there's a big and growing interest in these types of dementia VSED advanced directives. Why? Well, these have been printed. This is one that was printed in JAMA all the way back in the 1990s. But more recently, there's been just an explosion of interest in VSED advanced directives. There's the Dartmouth Dementia Directive. There's one from End of Life Choices New York, from End of Life Washington, from End of Life Options New Mexico, from Compassion and Choices, from Exit, from Life Circle, from the Final Exit Network, from Final Exodus, from the Lead Guide, Life Planning in Early Alzheimer's and Dementia. There are My Way cards for natural dying. In Nevada, the official state advanced directive form has a dementia addendum with a VSED option. And then you have individual elder law, estate planning law firms developing their own dementia directives for their clients. We offer a directive in an appendix to our book on VSED. We actually published an even better one recently with the Northwest Justice Project. And then Quicken Willmaker, America's #1 estate planning software, now offers a VSED option in the directive that they help people prepare. So, bottom line, big expansion and growing interest in VSED advanced directives. Why? Why all this growth and interest in VSED advanced directives? Well, a big reason is dementia. There is a big fear of dementia. And many people have used VSED, regular VSED, to avoid living into and with late stage dementia. And people have written whole books about that, and some films on that are coming out too. But there is a timing problem with using VSED, is that you have to VSED while you still have decision-making capacity. And that's not so good for many people, because it means that you have to VSED too soon. It means you have to VSED at a time when your life is still worthwhile and enjoyable. So you have to be preemptive with VSED. So there's a real dilemma, right? The dilemma is now or never, and now is too early. The way people capture this often is they say you have to give up good days to avoid bad years. So you have to make that trade-off. Now, people, of course, are willing to make that trade-off, but that trade-off must be made. That's a key value of these directives, is that they avoid having to make that trade-off. In other words, it helps people avoid that earliness problem of having to hasten their death too early. There is growing support for these Dementia VSED advanced directives in healthcare policy. So take the VA, our biggest healthcare system in the country. They have a policy on advanced care planning here, and in Section 9 of the policy addresses naturally administered nutrition and hydration. And of course, by default, the policy provides that naturally administered nutrition and hydration, that is, food and fluids taken by mouth and provided by hand, spoon, cup, or straw, are part of basic care offered to all patients. But there are two opt-outs to that default. First, with respect to patients with decision-making capacity, they have the right to refuse to eat or drink. And then with respect to patients who have already lost decision-making capacity, the VA says that clinicians need not provide food and fluids by mouth if the patient had made an informed, voluntary decision to stop eating and drinking prior to losing capacity. In other words, the VA is saying that clinicians may honor VSED advanced directives. Indeed, they should honor VSED advanced directives. And then you look at national professional societies like AMDA, the Society for Post-Acute and Long-Term Care Medicine. In 2019, they issued a position policy statement that said, no, you shouldn't honor these directives. They said that the clinician's duties to the current self, the patient today, are primary, so you should give water to the long-term care resident, despite what she wrote in her VSED directive. That's what they said in 2019, but in 2023, they retracted that position statement and now say that you should honor and follow the VSED advanced directive. So it's not just professional societies and healthcare systems that support Dementia VSED advanced directives, but it's also the law. Now, VSED, regular VSED, is legal in all 56 US jurisdictions. But when it comes to VSED advanced directives, there is some variability. So some states say yes, some states say no. So I like to use a traffic light metaphor to help simplify and categorize things. So some states are red lights. They say, stop, you can't do this. So in Iowa, for example, in Iowa, the advanced directive statute says that individuals can complete a directive directing that life-sustaining procedures be withheld or withdrawn. But then they clarify that life-sustaining procedures, the things you can have withheld or withdrawn, doesn't include nutrition or hydration by mouth. So in Iowa, an advanced directive may not direct VSED, or to say it another way, oral nutrition and hydration is not something that you can direct or instruct about in your Iowa advanced directive. But that's just Iowa. Many other states, green light states, they permit VSED advanced directives, right? So take Nevada, for example. As I said, the official state advanced directive form has a VSED option built right into it. And then other states like Vermont, your advanced directive can address not just healthcare, but also personal circumstances and even services to assist in activities of daily living, like feeding. So to recap, VSED advanced directives are valid. They are valid in many states. In other words, oral nutrition and hydration is something that you may instruct about in your advanced directive. And that's trending. That's trending. So in Arizona has been seeking to amend its advanced directive statute to clarify that advanced directives can address the circumstances under which food and liquids can be discontinued. New York, same thing. And New Jersey right now has a bill called the Dementia Dignity and Advanced Care Planning Act, which would allow and recognize VSED advanced directives. The biggest problem with VSED advanced directives, and there are some challenges, is that there may be a potential conflict between the prior self and the now self. So let's say that your patient has a VSED advanced directive, and it's now time to follow that directive, and you do. Okay. But then your patient says, hey, I'm thirsty. Now what do you do? Right? Whose wishes are we going to respect? The prior self who wrote the directive, or the current self who's asking for water, right? The then patient or the now patient. So there's two fixes to this challenge, this conflict. Fix number one is to have the patient write a Ulysses clause into her advanced directive. In other words, she anticipates this potential future conflict and says, ignore my future self. Stick to the VSED plan in my advanced directive. So she's telling you how she wants the conflict to be resolved. So with the Ulysses clause, the prior self prevails. Fix number two is to move from VSED to minimal comfort feeding. And we outlined this concept of minimal comfort feeding last year in the Journal of Pain and Symptom Management. Basically, rather than zero nutrition and hydration, which is what VSED is, we're going to give the patient just enough nutrition and hydration, just enough to address their discomfort. So this minimal comfort feeding addresses both the goals of the then patient to avoid living into and with late-stage dementia, but it also addresses the needs of the now patient because it addresses their current suffering. In terms of timing, the difference is this. With VSED, the patient is going to die in about 10 days. That's what the evidence shows. With minimal comfort feeding, it's probably going to be 20 days. So let me just wrap it up here. VSED advanced directives are on the radar screen of your patients today in a way they've really never been before. There is growing demand and interest in these. As I said, there's been an explosion of these forms being prepared and distributed across the country. So because of that, it's time to get ready to figure out how to respond to them. Dementia VSED advanced directives are ethical. Like all other advanced directives, they help assure value congruent care. I recognize that a few months ago, the Conference of Catholic Bishops issued new ERDs that say that VSED is incompatible with their morals, and that's fine. But unless they have a conscience-based objection, clinicians should honor VSED advanced directives. Thank you.
Thank you.